That's right, folks. It is well into September. At least where we live, that means frost at any point in time. And that means this one, our 1964 Plymouth Savoy, well, it's got to get prepared for that frost. Get some coolant in it, get it cleaned, and get it into storage for the winter. Now this will actually be my first time wintering this particular car. I've wintered lots of others, and so far with good success, except for when I forgot to winterize them, which is why I tend to remember now. You don't really want to come to your project in the springtime and find a fuel that's no good, or frost plug that's blown out the side of the block, or, you know, all the possibilities that aren't good. Now to start with this project, we're going to get the water out of it. Now under the hood of this particular hot rod, you're going to find a 440 cubic inch Mopar, and it's got a big triple core rad. It's also got a flashlight I apparently forgot in there. That's interesting. Glad that didn't fall into somewhere it shouldn't have. Now all you gotta do here is locate the drain valve, which is right there in this car. In this particular one, since we know it's just straight water, we're gonna open her up and let it sing. Now obviously, if you had any amount of coolant in there at all, you'd probably want to put that in a drain pan and dispose of it properly. But I already did the block drain on this one this summer and flushed it out quite thoroughly, so we don't have to worry about that. As you might already be able to guess, draining the rad alone, particularly on a Mopar big block, is not going to be enough water out to mix it 50-50. You might have to do that 2 or 3 times. So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is drop one of the block plugs. And that'll make a mess, and I'll be laying in water, so that'll be good. Now with the car securely on jack stands, we can roll underneath with a wrench or a block plug. And by a wrench, I mean a ratchet in the socket. And by that, I mean I'm still wrong because I need an Allen key. The plug you're looking for is this one, which is located just below the frost plugs, sort of in the center of the block. Now there's one on each side. Depending on the method you're doing, you may need to only undo one. Because I'll be adding straight coolant, I'm going to leave one in, drain the other, fill it up, and see where we're at for a mixture. Now if we're honest, doing this without getting wet and without a hoist, that's tricky business. But if you undo the plug all the way and then just hold it there, think about your life for a second, you might be able to get your face out of the way at least. But you might have no idea where the water goes too. Now before we put the car back on the ground, it's a good idea to have a quick roll underneath. Make sure you note down anything you see that might not be quite right. In this case, we've got some exhaust rubbing on a center link and a couple little oil leaks. Guy might want that list over the winter, just in case he gets bored and needs something to do. With some tread sealant applied to the block plug and reinstalled, we can get the car back on the ground and move on to the next step. Now you have to select your coolant according to what kind of car you have and what components are, located within. In this case, we've got an all iron block and no aluminum components, so we don't have to be too careful. The old standard green will do. Although they do make this aluminum compatible if you've got aluminum heads or aluminum intake that coolant flows through. Try not to spill all of the coolant before you put it in. Now that we've put nearly 2 gallons of coolant in it, we can be reasonably sure that there's enough in this thing that we don't have to worry. But what we're going to do is run it for a while and then check it with an antifreeze tester. We'll let the car run until it's up to temperature, and then we'll double check the coolant level. During this time, you can also add a little RPM just to make sure it's flowing freely. Now that we're reasonably confident that we've got the proper amount of coolant in the car and that it's not going to freeze on us, we better take it into town. give it a wash, and fill it with fuel. If you have opportunity to go for one last drive before you park for the winter, it's not a bad idea to record any anomalies you hear. Like for instance the thumping, which I'm not sure what it is, but I better find out. Pretty sure that's the exhaust touching the center link. Oh yeah. While we're out for a last test drive, we also stopped at our local parts store, picked up some fuel stabilizer and some spray wax, because we'd like to put it away clean. That isn't really mandatory to winterizing, but you know, it's a lot nicer if it is clean when you go to see it again in the spring. Now, since we have the option of putting 94 in it, we're going to, because the better fuel starts out at, the better it'll be by the end of the winter. At least that's the theory. After filling the tank, we headed down the road to our favorite car wash, Big Splash. There's no question I'm not an expert in car detailing, but to paraphrase Forrest Gump, I may not be a smart man, but I know what clean is. With the washer set on soap, I gave old Plan B a thorough spray down, making sure to get as deep as I could into the wheel wells and the underside of the body, along with any areas that could be prone to rusting. Before running out of coins from the machine, the Plymouth also received a rinse to get rid of any of the residual soap. Now that we're back at the home garage, it's time to add this bottle of fuel stabilizer. I'm not picky about what brand I buy, but it's best to put something in it, especially if it's going to sit for over 6 months. And we'll double check our coolant level, or rather, coolant strength level. Now, depending on what you buy and what brand it is, it treats different amounts of fuel. This one happens to treat 75 liters, which is about what this vehicle takes. Now, you don't want to just put it in there. You actually want to drive it for a bit, make sure it gets shook up into the tank and into the carburetor itself. It won't do the carburetor any good if this is all sitting in the tank because you put it in after you parked it. Now, before checking the coolant freezing point, you want to make sure your rad's cool. Now, this one's still a little bit warm, and I wouldn't recommend what I'm about to do. We'd given that at least a half an hour to cool off. Everything was fine. The good news is the level's right up to the top, so we didn't have to worry about topping it back up. Now, while the ratio of coolant to water is important and it matters, knowing that it's 50-50 doesn't necessarily guarantee you know what temperature it will freeze at. Here in Alberta, it can get up to like -40, which means you'd need coolant that's good to at least, well, theoretically -40, but you'll get away with -35 because before it ever freezes, it'll gel and crystallize a little bit, and it won't come to a hard freeze. Which on a vehicle that isn't necessarily driven every day will be just fine. Now, as it turns out, when we hold this level, we're right on the money between -36 and -45. This is just fine. Now, for the most part, you're done at this point in time. You can safely park this car inside or outside, and it'll be all right. But there's a couple other things you should think about, and that's, for instance, cleaning out the interior. Make sure it's spotless and has absolutely no food in it. If you live anywhere where there might be rodents that can get in there and get the food, chances are winter's when they're going to do it. So make sure that that's taken care of too. Now, we're also going to go ahead and give this car a quick spray wax because, you know, we might just go for one last drive tonight. And we want it to be looking its best. And if you're going to spray wax it before you put it away for the winter anyways, because you want it to look good in the spring, you may as well at least get a little bit of enjoyment out of it. As for advice on waxing the car, I can't offer much because, well, this is the first black car I've ever owned, and it's one of the few that I've ever had that was worth keeping shiny. So my best advice is find someone who knows what they're doing and see if you can convince them to help you. That'll be it for this episode of Heathen's Garage. Thanks for watching, subscribing. We'll see you later. Don't drive boring cars. Now as for us in this car, I'm gonna give it a quick spray wax. I'm gonna give it a quick spray. Now as for us in this car, we're gonna give it a quick spray wax, spray wax.